Welcome back. This is Bob Gorgoglione again. We're continuing to learn about the move towards socialist America by Republicans and Democrats, and how they are very much in harmony, essentially, with the communists, the socialists, and the Nazis, and the fascists, that is corporate socialists, that essentially they're all the same in the government economic programs that they have, and economic control of people politically. So, as I said last time, the quote I took from that I led you to believe was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in reality was Mussolini. And you can see that they both were saying the same thing. To go back a little bit concerning what fascism is, what corporate socialism is, James Henry, writing for the New Australian, which is a newspaper in Australia, January 24th, 1999, and this is what he had to say. The vast majority of people are totally incapable of recognizing a fascist economic program. Again, that's corporate socialism. Even when it is used to slap them in the face. This is because they have not been taught that fascism means state direction of the economy. Do we not have state direction of the economy? Cradle to the grave Social Security, complete control of education, government intervention in every nook and cranny of the economy, and the belief that the individual belongs to the state. America, and then it goes on, Webster's Unabridged Dictionary defines fascism as any program for setting up and centralizing an autocratic regime with severely authoritarian politics, exercising regulation of industry, commerce, and finance, rigid censorship, and forcible oppression of opposition. Now, when I read that, I feel like I'm describing the United States, its economic and political structure, or the way things are being run at this time. I'm old enough to remember when we had some of this, back 50, 60 years ago, but I would say that the vast majority of the regulations and taxes that we have now did not exist then. You could go buy a house, or I should say buy a piece of property. Matter of fact, an old gentleman was telling me back about 20 years ago, he said there was a day when he first started his company back in the 30s. He went down, bought the land, registered the deed, came back, dropped the equipment in, and started digging and building, and in 30 days the building was finished. Try that today, it could take you a year, as I was describing the last time we did a video. And it continues, there's a woman named Charlotte Twite, and she's an author of a book entitled America's Emerging Fascist Economy, published by Arlington House in 1975. On page 20, this is what she has to say, and see if it doesn't sound exactly like what we have. And remember, she's a scholar and studying corporate socialism in Italy. To sustain its power and achieve its economic goals, fascism seeks to make its people economically and psychologically dependent on the government, or the state. This enhances the government's control over its citizens' economic activities. Keep in mind, today you can't do anything without a license and the regulations that go with it. Fascism also installs a mandatory government license as a central economic weapon for compulsory government licensing of businesses, allows the political hierarchy to control the nation's economy without the appearance of totalitarian coercion. Altruistically phrased, vague licensing standards, such as the national or community interest, local needs, or personal qualifications of the applicant, preserve a facade of justice and due process to conceal unlimited government power. Exactly such elastic standards of government licensing prevailed in Nazi Germany, and I'll add, it prevails right here in the United States of America. We were once a great free land where we had free enterprise. The individual had complete control of his own property, his own business, he could control the resources he had. That's no longer true. That's why I advocate that we get rid of all licensing right across the board, right down to the driver's license. Then we have This is taken from William P. Hoare's book entitled Architects of Conspiracy. On page 127 we find the following. This is fascinating. The economics of fascist Italy were soon being imported into this country, the United States. This is Herbert Hoover speaking, or writing. Being imported into this country by Franklin D. Roosevelt, whose CCC, WPA, PWA, and other Depression-era schemes proved so damaging. Indeed, in his memoirs, former President Herbert Hoover told it as it was. Among the early Roosevelt fascist measures was the National Industrial Recovery Act, the NRA, in June 1933. These ideas were adopted by the United States Chamber of Commerce during the campaign of 1932. Henry I. Harriman, president of that body, urged that I agree to support these proposals, informing me that Roosevelt had agreed to do so. I tried to show him that this stuff was pure fascism, and it was remaking of Mussolini's corporate state, and refused to agree to any of it. He informed me that in view of my attitude, the business world would support Franklin D. Roosevelt with money and influence. That, for the most part, proved true. So here we are. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was copying, essentially, the programs, economic programs of the corporate state in Italy under Mussolini. But, you know, socialism comes under different names, and you have, you know, like we said before, Nazism, which is National Socialism, or National Socialist Workers' Party. You have the fascists, the corporate socialists. Then you have the communists, which are the international socialists. And then you have the Republican Democrats that are, well, you might say international socialists because they're trying to spread socialism throughout the world, through the UN, through government foreign aid programs. They're forcing other countries around the world to adopt socialistic programs. And you know, we've been deceived for a long time. The reason why socialism was able to be introduced into the United States because it was never done in the name of socialism. It was done in the name of social reform, under the name of liberalism, helping the poor and the elderly, whatever. It goes on and on. But there was a man named, let's see here. Oops, excuse me. There was a man named Norman Thomas who ran for president 6 times in the United States. The last time he did it, I believe, was back in the 50s. And he had this to say in 1953. He wrote a pamphlet entitled Democratic Socialism, in which he stated that here in America, more measures once praised or denounced as socialist have been adopted than once I should have thought possible, short of a socialist victory at the polls. Then he goes on in the mid-50s. He says here, this was from the Harvard Times, 1957, he says, the United States is making greater strides towards socialism under Eisenhower than even under Roosevelt, particularly in the field of federal spending and welfare legislation. So we see here that Eisenhower is actually building up socialism in the United States, building up the power of the federal government, more foreign aid, more aid to the states and so forth. So there really isn't any difference between the Republican Democrats or between the Republican Democrats and the Nazis, the fascists, and the communists in that essentially they are socialists and their goal is socialism, which is economic control of people by government. Thank you.